founder of On the Shoulders of Giants. And On the Shoulders of Giants is a book series, it's a blog, it's an African history curriculum app, and it's also a nonprofit organization. And the purpose of On the Shoulders of Giants is to make sure that we are telling our own stories. So you know how when it's Black History Month now. I know when I was growing up, we would only learn about 2 or 3 people. Martin Luther King, maybe Malcolm X, Rosa Parks, and Harriet Tubman. And those people are significant. Those people are important. But one thing that I learned is we have a full history of greatness. Our history isn't just 3 people. Our history, matter of fact, African history is world history. So as I stated earlier, our history didn't start with slavery. Our history, African history, Black history is actually the history of the world. So today, what I'm going to do for you today is give you the background stories of some individuals throughout history who you may or may not have heard of, as well as introduce you to some of the cultural concepts and things that go into us being who we were. Once again, African history in America did not start with slavery. As a matter of fact, through the findings of a gentleman named Dr. Ivan Van Sertima, in his book, They Came Before Columbus, we've learned that we've actually tracked 2 groups of African people who settled in the Americas, period, before Columbus arrived anywhere. Before Columbus got lost, put it like that, because Christopher Columbus did get lost. So with Dr. Van Sertima's information, he's one of the many historians that we've had. Some of the shoulders that I stand on, one of the reasons why I do what I do. Our history is the history of humanity. It's the history of the world. You will not have civilization in this world without African people. As a matter of fact, African people are the first people to civilize Asia. The first 3 dynasties in China were African people. The first people to settle and civilize India were African people. All over the world, Europe, were African people. These stories are not told. So I want to start with a lady that's named Annie Minerva Turnbow Malone. Anybody familiar with that name, Annie Malone? Now, who's familiar with Madam C.J. Walker?
Everybody.
All right. So if you don't know Madam C.J. Walker, she's said to be the inventor of the pressing comb, the inventor of the black haircut industry, the first black female millionaire. Not necessarily. Not to slight Madam C.J. Walker, but we want to make sure we tell the history correctly. Madam C.J. Walker was a mentee of Annie Minerva Turnbow Malone. So Annie Malone actually using her aunt was an herbalist, and she had some chemical backgrounds. So using that information that she had, she actually created the first hair straightening, guess you could say, chemicals. So black women didn't have the option of straightening their hair with these chemicals, with these products before Annie Malone. And Annie Malone created something called the Poirot Institute. And the Poirot Institute was her school where she would teach people like Madam C.J. Walker, who would come through and teach them everything they know. And they would go out into the world and they would take that black hair care industry out into the world. She created the straightening comb. She created the straightening comb. As a matter of fact, Annie Malone was the first African American woman to become a millionaire. She herself was worth $1 million in the 1920s. Her industry, the Poirot Institute, was worth $14 million itself. So we put that together. We're talking about somebody, a black woman who's worth over $15 million in the 1920s. Now, if you add that up to this time, you could just kind of double or triple that money. She had money. Now, one of the things, I guess one of the downfalls about what happened with her is she gave a lot of her money away. So when she died, she didn't necessarily die as a wealthy woman, but she set the stage. So if it wasn't for everybody who like to get their hair done, all you ladies with these nice hairdos, Annie Minerva Turnbull Malone, and then Madam C.J. Walker was able to carry the mantle. So like I said, we're not slighting Madam C.J. Walker, but we're putting things into perspective, and we want to know, we need to know the real history. Madam C.J. Walker stands on the shoulders of Annie Malone. Now, we hear about pyramids. We know about the medical industry. We know about surgeries. We know about doctors and all these things here. Who's ever heard of the Egyptian multi-genius named Imhotep? Who's ever heard of that? Now, when I say multi-genius, I literally mean multi-genius. It wasn't too many things that Imhotep couldn't do. They tell us that when you go to school and you learn that a squared plus b squared plus c squared is the Pythagorean theorem. Now, remember, Pythagoras, who was one of the Greek philosophers or whatever, Pythagoras spent 20 years in Egypt, right? Now, pyramids existed 3,000 years before Pythagoras, and you need the Pythagorean theorem to build pyramids. Imhotep was the first builder of the pyramids. He built what's called the step pyramid at Saqqara in Egypt. And because of him building that step pyramid, and he built that for the Pharaoh Doja under the third dynasty of Egypt. And because of that, now we have the great pyramids that we have. And Imhotep was also a high priest, a chancellor, a chief architect, a scribe, an engineer, and a physician. So he also authored what's called the Edwin Smith Papyrus, which describes over 90 anatomical terms and 48 injuries. So let's think about it. We're talking about 4,000 years ago, back when they used to tell us that we had nothing. We had a man who could diagnose all these things in the body. He would break the body down, give you the full anatomy of the body. This is not something new. This is not something people found out in the 1800s. These are things people found out in ancient Egypt, ancient Africa. He diagnosed and treated over 200 diseases. He included 15 of the abdomen, 11 of the bladder, 10 of the rectum, 29 of the eyes, and 18 of the skin. So what we're talking about on a whole nother level. He's doing things that a lot of doctors today can't do because they're only specialized in one area. So look at the totality of what Imhotep brought. And Hippocrates is called the father of modern medicine, which is not true. When doctors graduate, they have to take something that's called the Hippocratic Oath. And in that Hippocratic Oath, they give creeds to Asclepius. Asclepius is the Greek name of Imhotep. So if it wasn't for Asclepius, you would have no Hippocrates. So remember, all these Greeks came into Africa, they came into Egypt, and they learned from the Egyptian priests, they learned from the Egyptian geniuses, and they took that information back into their worlds, and they were called the first in their worlds. But it started in Africa. Now, who all in here love shoes? Who's the person that just loves shoes? It's like, if you could have 1,000 million pair of shoes, all right, we
Prada,
like the Jordans, we like the Reeboks,
Gucci.
Now, we don't. I haven't found any history who would tell us who's the first person to make shoes. I haven't found that. But what I have found, that if it wasn't for a black man named Jan Max Liger, if it wasn't for Jan Max Liger, we wouldn't be able to afford shoes. Now, Jan Max Liger was a shoe laster, and a shoe laster their job is to sew the bottom of the heel of the shoe to the top portion of the shoe. And in 1883, Jan Max Liger received a patent for his shoe laster machine. Now, before the shoe laster machine, only 50, with each shoe factory with the shoe lasters, only 50 pair of shoes could be made at one time. So you go out, you want some shoes. If you're poor people didn't have shoes. That's why in the 1800s, in the late 1800s, early 1800s, and even before that, poor people didn't have shoes. You had to have money to have shoes. Then Jan Max Liger came along. So as a shoe laster, he started realizing, hold on, we could do this better. We could be more efficient in the information, or we could be more efficient in the shoes that we make. So he created the shoe laster machine, despite being talked down upon by other people within the factory and other manufacturers who tried to discredit his work. his machine was so brilliant that the white people at the patent office didn't believe that this was real. So they sent investigators down to kind of look at what he was doing, to actually study and follow him, because they thought he was lying, because he created such a great machine that can press up 700 pair of shoes at one time. So think about that. We went from being able to, if you were rich, only the rich could buy shoes. So you went from only the rich people being able to buy shoes to the common people being able to buy shoes. So everybody who raised their hand that loves shoes, Jan Max Liga, y'all need to give him some praise, because of the Shoelaster machine, everybody in here now have shoes and have multiple pairs of shoes. You guys have those nice boots on, and y'all can look as fly as you look because Jan Max Liga. All right, so giving you information now about what I found is the first black woman who was a ruler in history. Her title, well, I like to call her King Queen Hatshepsut. But Hatshepsut was the first woman to be a ruler. She was the first woman to be a pharaoh in Egypt, and she didn't play around. So she was a ruler of the 18th dynasty. During her reign, there were no wars for 15 years, so she brought peace in the land of Egypt and the peace in the land of Nubia and all the areas where they occupied. It was peace in the land for 15 years. The country's economy boosted. So it went from being a country who was moderately rich to a country that was wealthy. Like I said, the first female ruler in written history was Hatshepsut. After her death, one of her relatives, Thutmose III, under the enemies and other historians who didn't like her, tried to erase her. They tried to erase her memory from history, basically. So a lot of her enemies, they didn't want people to know that a black woman was one of the first powerful rulers to stand out in history, and the first black woman to be a ruler in Egypt. And when you ruled Egypt at that time, that was the world's power. But a black woman did that. So all you black women in here, you need to understand how powerful you are.
Thank you.
Don't let this stuff you see on TV get you fooled.
Come on.
That this how black women really
Come
are.
on.
We talking about the mothers of civilization. We talking about greatness. Black women have been doing great things forever. Matter of fact, not to stray away, but we learned about Dr. Martin Luther King every Black History Month. Dr. Martin Luther King was a great man, but if it wasn't for the black women in the civil rights movement, we wouldn't know who Dr. Martin Luther King is.
Yes.
They did the work. They built that foundation. So we need to make sure that we understand our history so we can know how great we are, and our black women and our black men, our young people can know that we literally stand on the history of greatness. Don't let this stuff that you see on TV fool you. Now, this next person I'm telling you about, I like him. I didn't even know that he was from around these parts, but who likes the famous Amos cookies?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
If you're a little older, that's my favorite type of cookie, famous Amos. They put them in the vending machine. Matter of fact, it's a pack of famous Amos cookies like right here. Now, famous Amos from here in Tallahassee. He was born here in Tallahassee. So everybody go to Cascade Park, and you see that area. Now, how many of y'all knew that Cascade Park was a black neighborhood called Smoky Hollow? That's what Cascade Park was. And so, famous Amos came from this community. So, he learned to bake cookies from his aunt. He moved away from Tallahassee, and he moved, I think he moved up to Chicago, and he learned to bake from his aunt. And from that, he started getting his skills together. He moved out to LA. At first, he became a talent agent in LA. Then he started, all right, I want to take my cookies and I want to grow my cookie business. And that's when he started the famous Amos Cookie brand. And he made history by building the first freestanding storefront on Sunset Boulevard in California, in Hollywood, California. So you see all these stores, all these businesses, all these things that you have on Sunset Boulevard that you learn about, but they don't tell you that a black man, famous Amos from right here in Tallahassee, had the first freestanding storefront in California, and the Hollywood on that Sunset Boulevard. He took that cookie brand from, basically he took the genius from here in Tallahassee and took it around the world. So that just lets you know, like we have a lot of greatness here, we got some rich black history right here in Tallahassee.
Right.
So, is anybody in here named Candace? Nobody named Candace? You know people named Candace? Like we familiar with that name Candace, right? Now, it's actually more than a name. Candace isn't just a name. Candace is a title. So in ancient Nubia, we had at least four black women that we've recorded through history who are the Candaces of Kush. And the Candace means like you're the queen, you're the ruler. So whenever you name your daughter Candace, you actually giving her a title of a ruler of. Now we know there were 4 of the women who really stood out, but before I get to their names, give you a little history. So the Candaces were a lineage of women who ruled Kush or Ethiopia for 500 years. And the Candace or Kendaki, the true name is Kendaki, but we use Candace, but that means queen mother. So if you had the title of the Candace, you were the queen mother. The Candaces, now a lot of us have heard about Alexander the Great, and he's supposed to be this big bad world conqueror. Now, the Candaces weren't playing with him.
Oh no, they
so
wasn't. They ain't even played the
thinking
radio.
that he just gonna run over these women, and they were recorded as some of the few to actually resist him. Their forces were able to resist him and keep him out. They also forced Augustus Caesar to sign a peace treaty with them because their forces were too strong. They wasn't taking nothing from nobody. They're kicking butt and taking names. Black women, rulers. The name, four of them that stand out in history were Amani-Ras. I might not be saying their name all the way right, but I'm
Can you spell it as well, please?
Say it again.
Can you spell their names after you say
Okay,
it?
Amani-Ras is Amaneras. This Ameneshekete is Amanishakete. Then there's Nawidma, is Nawidemak, and the last one is a little tough to pronounce, but it's Malequebar, and that's Malequereabar. And those are the 4 most well-known Candaces of Kush. And this is around the 3rd century BCE. So we're talking about thousands and thousands of years ago, right? Black women been running things for a minute. So that's what I want people to understand. This is not something new. It's not just some, like, I love the black girls rocking all these things, but black women been put down since the beginning of time. Like the oldest remains of humanity that you're gonna find are black women. So you got to understand how powerful you are. I don't care how light you are, I don't care how dark you are. You need to understand how powerful you are, how beautiful you are, and the history that you come from. And don't let nobody tell you otherwise, trying to make you think that your history isn't great. Like I said earlier, it didn't start with slavery, interrupted our history. So we need to recognize, but it interrupted our history. As a guy, let's go to Asia.